I can finally say for the first time in my life that because of what I just did over the last 4 years, I finally lived up to my own potential. And let me tell you, making my first $1 million is everything I always dreamed it would be and more. All that anxiety and stress that I felt about worrying about my next bill and if I can afford a certain item at a grocery store just evaporated. Everybody always asks, does money buy you happiness? I like to think that it buys you peace of mind. Then you can come up with your own judgment if that makes you happier or not. Let me know in the comments what your biggest stress and anxiety is right now, because mine used to be worrying about my credit card debt and if I can afford to actually pay my rent at the end of every month. Looking back on it, living paycheck to paycheck was way scarier than actually changing your life to become successful. So 4 years ago, I woke up and I realized that I could be doing so much more with my life. I was living in my buddy's house, just staying in a spare bedroom. I was partying, I was having fun. I was really just enjoying living in South Florida. Definitely not the ideal situation though. But in reality, I wasn't really enjoying living in South Florida because I was blowing through all the money that I had saved up just trying to figure things out. So I was getting dangerously low to my last few dollars, and I had to take a job working at a call center, which I absolutely despised. For me, it was miserable. I was waking up early in the morning, going to a job that I didn't enjoy. I was making mediocre money. I think it was like $400 a week, and I had a boss breathing down my neck. But I had to do it because I needed the money. But you know what? The money wasn't worth it, and it wasn't that much money to begin with, so why was I being miserable every single day doing a job I hated for a very little amount of money? So I decided to take a risk and change career paths. I was talking to a few buddies, and they recommended that I get my real estate license, and I was really nervous at first because A, I had to put up more money to actually get my license, and B, there's millions of real estate agents out there with experience, and I had none. It turns out though, it was actually a really good career path for me because I was good at it. I ended up making about $80,000 in my first year as a realtor, and I actually enjoyed what I was doing. I was basically running my own business. I didn't have a boss. I didn't really have a schedule that I had to stick to, so I can kind of do my own thing and make my own money. Let me tell you, it was a massive step up from working at a call center. That was terrible, and real estate was actually pretty cool. But a year into real estate, and I still wasn't satisfied. I felt like I could be doing much more. Here's the thing. Change can be scary, like I said before. So for me, it took somebody very close to me in my life to give me a push. And once I got that push that I needed, it all just clicked. It was my girlfriend, and she made me realize how much potential that I had inside of myself. She saw it. I saw it in the back of my head, but I just needed some guidance. And it turns out that was her. She gave me the extra edge that I needed to make a big change in my life. She didn't hold anything back. She basically said that I was coasting through life. I was doing things that I shouldn't be doing at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Instead of working, I might have been laying at the pool or playing video games, and just making a little bit of money here and there wasn't good enough for her. And it certainly wasn't good enough for me. That's why I had that feeling inside that I could be doing so much more. She said a few mean things to me that I don't really want to repeat right now, but it made me have an epiphany. And from that moment on, I made a vow to myself that I was going to change. I needed to make up for lost time. You see, I'm 37 years old right now, and in my 20s, I basically just coasted through life, making a little bit of money here and there, enough to save up and move to South Florida and enjoy myself for a year or two, but nothing crazy where I can retire at an early age. I lived a very interesting life in my 20s. I was doing things that, looking back on it, I'm not really proud of, and one day I'm going to open up about it. So let's just say I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. So I went back and analyzed the last 4 years of my life, and there were 7 steps that I took to making my first $1 million. Doing these 7 things led from me moving out of my friend's spare bedroom to me moving into a luxury apartment with my girlfriend. I now own 2 cars, a BMW M3 and a Tesla Model S Plaid, and now I can do anything I want. I'm financially free. So the very first step was actually, as cliche as this is, believing in myself. Before you try to change anything, you have to believe that you can actually do it. Otherwise, you're going to be destined to fail. So one thing I never used to believe in was actually manifestation. So I used to think it was some phony baloney nonsense that some monk developed in a temple thousands of miles away. But once I started believing in myself and manifesting that I could actually become successful, it actually happened. So you can say I'm a big believer in manifesting your destiny now. I believe the first time I even heard about this was through Gary Vee. I was watching one of his videos years ago, and he was talking about how you can manifest your goals into reality. If you speak it, it'll come true. But first, you had to believe that you are capable of actually achieving success. If you have any doubt in yourself and think that you can't do it, then it's never gonna happen. The easiest way for me to do this was to see other successful people as well and say, if they can do it, then I can do it too. As simple as that sounds, that's actually true. I mean, think about it from a logical perspective. If another human being can reach making millions of dollars every single year, then why can't you do it? What makes them any better than you? Do you think they're smarter than you? Do you think they're tougher than you? Do you think they had more advantages than you? I don't think so. I think a lot of these rich, successful people came from nothing and they built their way up by their own blood, sweat, and tears. So again, if they can do it, then I can do it too. We got guys out there like Grant Cardone that are billionaires, and he had wasted like 30 years of his life, kind of just like me, and then he made $1 billion. So if that guy can do it, then why can't I and why can't you? Every single person on this planet is good at something. You just have to find that one thing or maybe two things that you're actually good at. I don't believe that anybody is better than anybody else. I just think it's about the amount of effort that you put into things, which leads me to my next step, step number 2, which is putting in effort. So 4 years ago, when I was figuring out my path to success, I realized that I wasn't putting in enough effort into what I was doing. Now, remember how I said I made $80,000 in my first year as a realtor, which is pretty decent for a new realtor, but I wasn't even trying that hard. I was only putting in maybe 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. I knew I could be doing more. But I got comfortable, and I realized that comfort is the killer of success. So I started to hyper-focus on doing real estate. Now, it doesn't matter what you're actually doing, these steps work for anything. I could have chose being an accountant, I could have been a lawyer, a doctor, anything at all. If I hyper-focused on it long enough, then I can be the most successful in that industry because I believed in myself and I manifested that I can do it. So instead of relaxing at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and going to take a swim because I already did a deal for that day, I kept going. If I can make $80,000 with minimum effort, what would happen if I actually put in maximum effort? And doing a few simple changes like just trying harder made the world of difference. In my second year of real estate, I made $250,000 in profit. And like I said, I could have done this in any career path. It really didn't matter what the career was. It was just the fact that I started trying and I put all of my potential out there into the world and I started doing things that I didn't want to do before. The harder I tried at being the best real estate agent I possibly could, the more money I made. So it had a direct correlation. So instead of turning my phone off at 5 o'clock at night and taking off weekends, I started working at 5 o'clock at night and I started working on the weekends. After a full year of doing that, after making $250,000 in my second year, I ended up making $510,000 in my third year of real estate. I became the number 2 ranked agent for eXp Realty, that's my real estate company, in the entire world out of 90,000 agents. And I did this lightning fast. Remember, I wanted to make up for lost time because I feel like I blew my 20s, so I didn't want to blow my 30s. So it's never too late to make a change and start bettering yourself. You can reach your goals at any age. It truly doesn't matter. So putting all of this effort into real estate brings me to my third step, and that's mastering a skill. So it's basically inevitable. If you start putting in 100% of your effort and even more, you're going to eventually master whatever it is that you're working on. For me, it ended up being real estate. For you, it could be something completely different. Maybe you want to open up a restaurant. Maybe you want to open up a coffee shop. Maybe you want to do something completely different that nobody's ever done before. It doesn't really matter what the thing is. It just matters how much effort you put in. And then once you start putting in effort, that you actually become the expert in that field. That was the biggest reason why I succeeded so fast, because after my third year in real estate, that's when I hit the $1 million mark. It was probably like 3 years and a few months in, because my first year I made like 80 grand, second year 250,000, and third year 510,000. So the difference was 150 grand, which I had made in the first few months of my third year of real estate. I honed in on one particular niche in my career, and that made me the expert on the whole planet in this one particular thing. So if you guys know anything about real estate, you know that real estate agents work with buyers and they work with sellers. Well, they can also work with renters. But when I got into real estate, no agents were teaching this and no agents were doing this. So I became the expert at doing rentals. The commission checks were a lot lower. Instead of making $10,000 a deal, I would make $2,000 a deal. So it wasn't as sexy as doing purchases, but nobody else was doing it. So I saw a gap in my market. I then believed in myself that I could become the best. I then put in all of my effort, and then and I mastered it. If I hadn't done these first few steps, there is no chance I would have made $1 million in real estate. It takes most agents 20 years to make $1 million. The average salary is 50 grand a year, and I did it in 3. I'm very proud of myself for what I did because all throughout my life, I would start something, be good at it, but not put in full effort, didn't really believe in myself, and I would end up stopping eventually. Which brings me to step number 4, which is consistency. So that was one of the biggest problems in my life, was I was never consistent with anything. I would make a few dollars, I would save up some money, and all of a sudden, once I had that cushy little nest egg, I would just stop. Have you guys found yourself getting comfortable in life and then all of a sudden just stopping what was making you successful? Well, I did, and that was a big reason why I had never became a millionaire before last year, because I wasn't consistent about anything I did in my life. I guess you could say the only thing I was consistent about was being inconsistent. So this time I said, you know what? Let me try to keep going and keep pushing, keep putting all my effort in, keep believing in myself, keep mastering the skill of real estate, and let's see what happens. And what happened was I made $1 million very, very quickly within 3 years of starting a brand new career. And realistically, it wasn't even that difficult. It wasn't like I was trying to build a rocket ship to go to Mars. I wasn't trying to solve some complex equation. I was just selling homes and renting homes to different people. That's it. That's all I was doing. I just did it at such a high level that I succeeded faster than anybody else in the history of real estate. By this point, I had done 700 deals as a solo agent. And drop a comment below if you know any realtors. I've never heard of any agent ever doing that many deals in that quick of a time frame. And like I said before, you can literally apply these steps to anything that you want. I'll give you an example. I just started a training business where I'm teaching other agents how to replicate what I did in real estate by working with renters, and I've made over $80,000 in my first month and a half. That's because I'm applying all of these steps that I just went over and just use them in a different field. I kept building upon my momentum month after month and year over year, and every single year I would grow and I was able to scale. Now I have an entire team. I have agents working for me. I have virtual assistants. I have editors that are editing this video here. I have students that I'm teaching on a weekly basis. And if I had stopped and killed my momentum, then none of this would have happened. I could have believed in myself. I could have mastered my skills. I could have put in a whole bunch of effort, but if I wasn't consistent, all of it would have disappeared. So once I became consistent, I took it even one step further, and then I started to plan. So that's my next step, is planning. One of the big things I started doing was actually making a vision board. Again, this was something that I used to think was so foolish and something I never saw myself doing. But once I started doing it, all of my items on my vision board started coming true. So if you guys don't know what a vision board is, all you're basically doing is you're planning for the future. I like to do it in 1 year increments. I do it at the end of every single year. And I basically just take all of my goals and I put them down on a list. From that list, I go and print out pictures depicting every one of those goals. And then I cut out each one of those pictures and then I put it on a piece of paper. I actually have my vision board right here. So this is what my vision board looks like for 2024. I'll pop it up on the screen, but this really helped me achieve all of my goals. I remember the first time I did this, and my goal for that year was to make $100,000. I absolutely crushed it, blew it out of the water, and remember how I said before, in my second year of real estate, I ended up making $250,000. So I exceeded even my own expectations. But the fact that I had printed it out, put it on a piece of paper, and mounted it on the wall behind me, which you can see over here, that was a big motivating factor in me accomplishing that goal. If you guys have never done a vision board before, I highly recommend doing it. It's a whole bunch of fun. You could even do it with a friend or your partner, and it'll really help you out to see and visualize what you want to accomplish for that year. And then at the end of the year, you can see what you did actually accomplish and what you didn't accomplish just by going over your vision board and seeing what goals you actually achieved. And you can get really creative with the goals that you set. It doesn't just have to be about money. It could be about anything. For example, I wanted to hang out with my friends more because I actually have a problem with not hanging out with friends enough. So I put that on my vision board to hang out with friends more. And I'm going to talk about why I stopped doing that in my 7th step. But to really expand on this, I took this one step even further and I started micro planning, which brings me to step number 6, which is my daily schedule. So planning for the entire year can be awesome and a good way to see what you're going to do for the next 365 days, but you need to actually plan what you're going to do every single day. So that's when I came up with my daily schedule. I basically organized from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed head for every single task that I should be doing. And the way I came up with this was I actually reverse engineered what I was doing every single day, and then I eliminated all the things that weren't money producing activities. Remember how I said before that I was really bad with hanging out with friends? Well, I had realized hanging out with friends typically is not a money producing activity, so I cut that out of my daily schedule. If you go through your entire day and just write down everything that you're doing when you're doing it, you'll have a list by the end of the day, and then you can go and look through that list and see what's efficient, what's holding you back, what's negative, and what's not causing you to grow. You could then eliminate those things from that list and then create a schedule where it's all money producing activities that's gonna get you to your end goal. In my case, it was making $1 million. I'm telling you, try doing this activity and you will be shocked by how much time that you're wasting every single day and how much more efficient you can be. You might catch yourself scrolling through TikTok for like 2 hours throughout the day, and that's 2 hours that you could be using making more money. Fine-tuning my daily schedule made me so much more productive that I was actually able to achieve making $1 million just after 3 years of starting my new career. But it wasn't just that. Aside from the other 6 steps that I took, my 7th step, that was a really big factor in me actually hitting that $1 million mark, which was being selfish. That's right, you heard it. I was selfish. And honestly, I still am a little bit selfish. But if you're on a mission and you have goals that you want to achieve, you have to be. Every single successful entrepreneur will tell you the exact same thing. They hyper-focused on something and they didn't let anything get in their way. I lost a lot of friends because of this, because I wasn't spending time with them. Instead, I was spending time working and trying to achieve my goal. I remember after my 2nd year of real estate, I wanted so badly to make $500,000. I just wanted to hit that 250 deal mark and make that $500,000. And guess what, guys? I did it. But I had to sacrifice a lot to actually get that number. I actually lost one of my best friends because of doing this. He wanted to spend more time with me. He wanted me to help him out in his business. And honestly, guys, I just couldn't afford to take the risk of losing out on reaching my goal. Looking back on it, if you ask me now, would I have done it again? That's a tough choice to have to make, but honestly, I would probably say yes. I would do it all over again if I had to. Because in my mind, if somebody truly cares about you and they know you're on a mission, then they'll step back and let you accomplish your goal. And that's why I'm so happy that I met my future fiance. She understood and she believed in me, and she was okay with me spending all of my time working. She knew I had a goal that I wanted to accomplish, and she let me do it. Not only did she let me, she encouraged me. So even being selfish, I was still able to hold a really great relationship, but that's because I found the right partner for it. I stopped doing fun activities. Like, it would be a pain for me to go to, let's say, an amusement park instead of actually work and try to make more money and close more deals. Which is weird because just a few years prior, remember, all I was doing every single day was fun activities, hanging out, playing video games, partying, drinking, going on dates. That's all I would be doing. And now, fast forward 4 years later, all that stuff actually causes me stress and anxiety because I feel like I'm wasting my potential if I'm not working and trying to make as much money as I can every single day. Now, for some people, this might not sound enjoyable, but I found something that I love doing. I love doing real estate. Even just making YouTube videos now, I love doing this. So I don't mind spending hours every single day working on this stuff. For me, it's fun. I actually enjoy it. So putting aside everything else and just focusing on real estate, that was my career path that I chose. It's going to be different for all of you guys. That was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. For a change, I finally put myself first, and I was the one that mattered. If you have a problem in your life and you're the person that always cares about everybody else, you put them in front of you, that could actually be the thing that's holding you back. So doing all of these 7 steps directly led to me making my first $1 million in a brand new career in just 3 short years. All you have to do is believe in yourself. You have to put in 100% of your effort. You have to master a skill that you're putting the effort in, and then you got to get very, very consistent with it. And then once you're consistent with it, start planning for the bigger picture, long-term planning. And then after that, hone in on your planning and start micro-planning your daily schedule, cutting out all the fat. And then once you do that, just become selfish. Yes, I know that's very weird saying that out loud, but it truly makes the world of a difference put yourself first, and you don't even know what you guys can accomplish when you make yourself the center of your own universe. I hope you guys really liked this video. It took me a lot of time and effort thinking about how I actually made my first $1 million. So putting it out there in words and reflecting back on it really means a lot to me. So please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch everybody in the next one. All right, that was pretty good, not bad.